Mate, your Instagram has absolutely blown up over the last year or so, and we just spoke about it a little bit offline. But for the listeners, Scott is the brain guy on Instagram. You post some incredible content that is very easily digestible, which I totally appreciate, mate. You make complex topics come across, you explain it so it comes across relatively simply so my brain can actually understand it and absorb it. So, mate, congratulations to you for being able to do that. But let's talk about how that came about. Talk about your Instagram first, give people a little bit of an understanding of what it's all about, and then we'll talk about that journey of how you got to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I am the brain guy on Instagram and Facebook, and really how that came about is, as I said, working with the Academy of Applied Movement Neurology, and yeah, we were basically doing. I was at the time. I was full-time personal training and doing applied movement neurology with clients all the time, and so that was making up about 50% of my work. 50 with the brain, 50% with clients doing physical work and movement, a lot of rehabilitation stuff. And so I started creating. It just kind of came easily. It just fit. It was like as soon as I dived in that education, it was mind-blowing. It was just an incredible rabbit hole of information, and it was a completely different way of looking at the body. But it just made sense. It just really made sense and fit, and it's like that. I remember describing to David Fleming, who's the creator of that system, I remember remarking to him a number of times, saying, I feel like I've found myself in your system. It's like just this whole thing of navigating neurophysiology and all these different brain circuits, and it just makes sense. So, and it was kind of one of the only times in my life I could say that I've just experienced that consistently, that flow state of it all just makes sense, and I can see where this is going. I experienced it a couple of times as an athlete, and it was fleeting and it was amazing when it happened. But this obviously just fit really well for me. So, as you said, we were doing some retreats, and that's where you and I first caught up on a retreat in Thailand in 2018. And then it was literally after a different retreat in Bali in 2020 that the world just changed, because that's when the current situation with health sort of really kicked off and was taking a grip, and things in Australia really shut down, and a change had been coming for me for a while, and it just really became clear that it was time to kind of step up and be the brain guy, just literally do this full time and just actually help. So gyms were closed, and I kind of left personal training pretty much behind. I still see a couple of clients, and I still do movement with people that come to see me when face to face when that's required. But I'm just full time in this space now, and if I'm honest, if I'm 100% honest about it, I was just trying to be cool and helpful, posting information on social, and I could see the profound and life-changing and miraculous results that I'd get with people one-on-one, and I never really believed that I'd be able to help like that just posting information. I was kind of the throwaway information I was giving on social, and it wasn't until Christmas this last year just gone, I just received, it was like an avalanche of all these direct messages from people telling me how much their lives had changed from all the information that I put out and what a difference it had made, and it really blew me away. And then when I realized, wow, I'm actually making a difference, like, okay, well, now I want to give more. So now it's kind of give to live, just give, and just give, be as helpful as you can. And I think then, funnily enough, adopting more of that attitude is certainly when more people jumped on board, and the page kind of really blew up, and it's much bigger now than it was previously. But I just try and do that. I just literally just try and give, and some people take that information and then want more, and they come and see me for a one-on-one. Other people just take that information and do whatever's right with it for them. So that's pretty much where we're at. Just trying to help, just be cool and helpful, but maybe on a different level than when I first started.
You provide some amazing content, mate, and I really appreciate it. And there's definitely a number of posts that I've pushed off to my clients as well, regarding things that we've spoken about in client calls and things like that. And then all of a sudden something of yours pops up, and I'm like, boom, all right, that's like how I explained it. Probably not quite as detailed as Scotty has. All right, but that makes a lot of sense. I'll send that through to my clients. So I really appreciate it, man. Let's talk about the Applied Movement Neurology. So as you said, I met you on a mastermind retreat in Thailand a number of years ago. And I was actually on that retreat whilst I was going through my AMN level 1 practitioner course. So I thought I'll go on this retreat. I'll kind of use it to accelerate my learning, my knowledge. And I got there, man. I was completely out of my depth. I was like, what the fuck? Where am I? Who are these people? It was incredible, man, and it definitely opened my eyes to a lot of components that I was missing when it came to coaching, particularly relating to the brain. So let's talk about applied movement neurology. How did you get involved with that system? And for the listeners, can you explain what AMN is?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll tell you what, first, for the listeners, let's just share a little bit of your experience, because I'll give you the other side of it, because being a lecturer, being a presenter on that retreat when you turned up, I have to say, so the other guys there was some chat, because it was an advanced level retreat. And, and it basically in that system, there's level 1, 2, 3, and then there's more advanced applications. And so things were kind of at the level of the more advanced applications, people who'd done level 1, 2, and 3. And you're talking 2 to 3 years study kind of thing to get there, and like literally studying the brain and how complex that can be. And I used to be a fighter, I was an athlete, and I used to travel around the world on my own, just going to all these competitions, and people used to just kind of be really just marvel at it and go like, I can't believe you do that stuff. And I always had the attitude that like, mate, well, I'm not going to die wondering. You've got to have a go, back yourself. Like, you just have to back yourself, and I remember when you turned up, because I didn't know you from a bar of soap, and one of the other guys who was running it said like, this guy Sean's turned up, like he's literally just signed up for level 1. He hasn't even done level 1 yet, and he's like, this is like, what's going to happen? And I just thought like, mate, back yourself. That's awesome. Like, good on you. And mate, and I've got to say, like, I really appreciated on that retreat how you could see it was challenging, but you were there, had a really good attitude, just kept your mind open, which is so much about what life is all about. Just have an open mind, absorb what you can. Take what fits, add what's yours, discard what you don't need, Bruce Lee philosophy, and off you go, and mate, I had such a world of respect for what you did out of that, because there's a lot of people would have been completely daunted by that experience, and and I could see you took it on and you got some really good stuff out of it, like there would have been some stuff you missed, but there was some really great stuff that you definitely got, and that was amazing. So how I came into applied movement.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I actually failed the exam 3 times before I ended up passing, man. But yeah, no, I appreciate that, mate.
But mate, but that's the thing. Back yourself. Don't die wondering. You just have to have a go. And look, if you're going to be in the fight game, mate, I love it's the Sugar Ray Leonard quote. Like. That one thing, if you're going to be a champion, like you have to be able to believe in yourself when no one else will, and like when you can do that, you qualify, and that's awesome. So for me, how I came into applied movement neurology and really how this whole journey started. So as I said, I was an athlete in Taekwondo, and this is the old school Taekwondo, not the current one that's in the Olympics. And world of respect to everybody who's doing that now and goes to the Olympics, and it's wonderful, but just back in the day it was different, and it was kind of full contact and a lot of KOs, and it was hard. I literally the first international I went to, I witnessed a guy get killed, and I was just like, wow, like this is pretty full on. It's very different now. So anyway, how I came into it was I was a personal trainer, and I had that athlete's mindset. I'd retired from fighting, but I still had that mindset of just want to be the best. Like I want to be, whatever I'm doing, I want to apply myself. I've invested years into this level of dedication and focus that made me an athlete, and I want to be the best at this. So I was doing a lot of rehabilitation work, and it dawned on me that I was doing a lot of physical movement. I was moving arms and legs, I was moving limbs and peripheral areas of the body, trying to fix long-term movement dysfunction. And what struck me was that really there was a centrally driven signal. There was something in that control center. There was something on the motherboard of that computer upstairs that was sending an altered signal, and it was creating a different pattern that was maintaining these different movement dysfunctions. And really what I was doing was moving arms and legs, hoping to try and overwhelm that signal via repetition. And when I realized, like, actually, if there is just a switch up there, if there's a switch or something, a button we can press that just changes that pattern, well, that'd be way more efficient, because what was happening to me was just being a personal trainer of mums and dads. I was seeing people for 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, and I had these really fancy exercises that were great, but it wasn't like working with elite athletes. They wouldn't go home and do them again. They wouldn't go and practice them each week and do the necessary volume of repetition to be able to affect a change. I'd just see them for that 1 hour of a week. Yeah, and they would then go and get it wrong for the other 167 hours of the week and then come back and there'd be no change. So I was literally just left thinking there has to be a better way to do this, and then so it was that synchronous moment of just a Facebook ad. I literally saw the two guys from Applied Movement Neurology on a Facebook ad firing a reflex to make a pectoralis muscle become stronger, and this light bulb just went off. I was just like, that's it. That has to be it. That's the answer. And a little bit like you, my first experience was not the successful one I was looking for. My first experience was I signed up and I basically got their calisthenics program. I thought I was getting the therapy program. I got their calisthenics program, went right through it, got to the end of it. This is not what I'm looking for. But I was sure there was an answer there, so I kept diving back in, and then I found the level 1, the level 2 certificate, like certifications, and went through those. And it was just, I was hanging on by the skin of my teeth trying to get through that first course, barely thinking I was going to be able to do it, really struggling to understand it. It was so complex. And I went to work the very next morning. That
makes me feel better about myself, mate.
Oh, mate. But I remember sitting in that room thinking, looking at all these people thinking, you're not going to get this. You don't get it. I barely get this. This is, and I just thought, I'm going to work tomorrow morning. I start at 5:30. Whatever I understand from this has to be in play tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Otherwise, it's gone. I just have to start. And I went in and literally first client and then the second client at 6:30, I resolved 2 long-term movement dysfunctions that I hadn't been able to make a dent in over like a 2 or 3 year period, and then they were just gone. I was just like, this is amazing. Okay, wow. Right, that's it.
That's buy-in right there.
Yeah, hey? mind blown. And I was like, clients are bought in, I bought in, that's it. Let me sign up for something else so I can study. And that was it. That I was just off and racing after that. So just couldn't get enough of it. And if I had have known how much work and how much study I was going to do before I kind of signed up for that first course, if I'd known how much work was going to be involved, I probably wouldn't have signed up. But it was all just self-motivated and self-driven, and it's this incredible rabbit hole that when you dive into it, there's no bottom, there's no end. There's so much more we don't know about the brain than what we do know. So you just learn every day.
That's a great point, mate. Like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, right?